I'm Megan Harvey. I'm a senior production editor at Girl Friday.
And I'm Christina Auriditas. I'm the editorial director at Girl Friday. Girl Friday Productions is a full-service editorial firm headquartered in Seattle, and we help authors at every stage in the publishing process, including writing, editorial, social media, and design. One of the big mistakes is don't forget your reader. And this may sound really obvious, but it's really easily forgotten. Let's say you are an expert in your field and you want to spread the word about your knowledge. Sometimes your very expertise can actually be your blind spot, and what you take for granted as common knowledge is totally baffling to your reader. And you may find every line item of the tax code to be scintillating material, but other people are operating on a need-to-know basis. And so you need to be respectful of that and making sure you don't lose your reader at any point. And to that end, you also really want to focus your audience, because let's say you have a book on retirement. Everybody in the country is going to retire someday. But that doesn't mean you should have a book that aims to answer questions for people from ages 20 to 70. You're going to sort of miss the mark. People really want books that are targeted to their particular needs. It may sound like a good idea to cast a wide net, and it turns out that that's not really the best way to go. The more targeted you are, the more you're going to reach your audience and satisfy their needs. Once you have your audience in mind, this is not a platform on which you showcase everything you know on a given topic. This is where you have to really get inside your audience's head and think, what problem do they have? Like, what problem can I solve with my knowledge, and really speak to that? And that means when it comes down to writing, that you want to keep the language accessible. You don't want to talk down to them. You want to make them feel excited about the material in the way you are, but just keep in mind the way they're going to be approaching it at all times.
And with fiction too, I think a blind spot for authors can be that you are so deeply immersed in this world that you've created that you forget that your reader doesn't know the spatial arrangements you're talking about, or the backstory of the characters. Or there are blind spots because you are so familiar with that material. So having an outside reader take a look at that for you, and an educated reader, an editor, is a way to get around that stuff.
Don't fly blind, get informed. The publishing landscape is changing at lightning speed these days. There are a lot of buzzwords out there. Everyone is claiming to have the great new answer to publishing. Stop, take a deep breath, and know this: there is no single right answer for everyone. And it takes a really deep understanding of the options to make the right choice for you. So there are several variables to consider, and the first one would be the power of your distribution arm and the level of your entrepreneurial spirit. Do you have a schedule packed with speaking engagements, or are you a debut novelist who thinks self-promotion is a dirty word? You have to choose how much time and energy you have for spreading the gospel about your book. There are several considerations when you're trying to decide, for instance, whether you're interested in traditional publishing or self-publishing, and I just want to cover a few of those here right now. One of them is the power of your distribution arm. So, do you have a way to get the books out of your garage and into people's hands? Obviously, there's a lot of social media out there in terms of options right now, but you have to know whether you have the sort of entrepreneurial spirit to take that on yourself, or whether you want the support of a publisher to help you get into bookstores and to help get the word out.
Regardless of which way you go, you're going to have to put a lot of effort into self-promotion, but the amount of heavy lifting you're going to do is going to have to be a whole lot bigger on this self-publishing end. So you need to make sure that you have a platform to jump off of in order to do that, or you're not going to be successful if you have nowhere to seed your material.
Timing is also another big piece of this. So some people's books are really timely. Self-publishing can usually be done much more quickly than traditional publishing. Not always, and it's an important thing not to rush that process. But generally, if you do want a book that has a message that you want to get out within less than a year, self-publishing is going to be a more realistic option for you.
There's a calculation to be done there based on the creative cost outlay that you have up front in a self-publishing model versus how long, looking at your marketing platform, getting a real sense of the number of copies you think you can sell through, and sort of figuring out how long it's going to take you to earn back what you've spent or what you've fronted on the creative end. So there's people can help you look at those numbers and determine whether that's actually a wise financial decision or whether you're not going to ever earn out that, or maybe that's not your goal. But you need to be aware going in, if you're going to lay out that kind of money, what your potential is to earn it back in the self-publishing model.
And then the last part would be the level of control. If you really want to be the one calling all the shots, self-publishing might be a really good way to go, because publishers have lots of opinions. Obviously, they have opinions that come from a lot of expertise, so it's important not to ignore their input, but if you really have a vision for exactly what you want your book to look like, self-publishing might be the right way to go. Whatever you do, there isn't any single right answer, but it's a matter of looking at all of these variables, considering them, weighing them, and then doing a lot of research. There are a lot of fabulous agent blogs out there. Girl Friday has a lot of material on it, and we offer consultations so that people can really come and say, this is what I'm working with and what's the best route for me. So the main point here is just to make an informed decision so that you're really happy with the result in the end.
And that there are people that can help you make that decision. You don't have to make it on your own. Yeah. Don't rush the process no matter what you do. Now that you've completed your manuscript, you've maybe sold it to an agent or traditional publisher, or you've decided to self-publish, it's really understandable that you want to see that book as quickly as possible. But I'm here to tell you, take your time. There's a reason why the traditional publishing process is a long one, and it's because all of these stages are in place to ensure the high quality of your book. In traditional publishing, your book will be read by no less than 3 expert editors, all of which are looking at different levels of the material to make it strong and tight from top to bottom. And meanwhile, you're going to do a whole lot of work with your publisher on the cover and the interior design of the book. And if you're self-publishing, it's true that a lot of people are attracted to self-publishing because it's faster, and that is the case. Print-on-demand technology makes it really, really quick to get printed books in your hands, and in general, we're talking about a difference of, like, roughly speaking, 6 months. So you will be able to move through the process more quickly, but it's really important to still go through all of those stages, even if you're self-publishing. Get a developmental edit, get a copy edit, get a professional cover and typeset layout done. Do not forget the proofread. The first step that we see a lot of people wanting to cut out is the developmental edit, because it's the broader, it's not the sentence level work and it's not the grammar stuff, it's like the story and the pacing and the organization and the characters. It's the stuff that you're going to get ripped apart on Amazon.com for if your readers find it. Let an editor do it in private first and make it work with you to make it tighter. It will absolutely benefit your book. And then not to forget the copy editor, because the copy editor is like the queen of grammatic. I mean, the copy editor is who's going to make you look professional on the page. They're going to make sure that all of your sentences are smooth and they don't trip up the reader, and then you're not saying things that you think are conveying one thing but they're really being received another way. I like to tell people that it's like skipping a copy edit would be like not washing your hands after going to the bathroom just because you can't see germs. Not a good idea. They're there, the germs are there. Have your book copy edited. And then after it's copy edited, it's going to be poured into a professional typeset layout so it doesn't look like a Word document anymore. And that's a manual process where there's a lot of things that can happen that look weird on the page, and that's what the proofreader's job is to do primarily, is to fix all of those formatting oddities that get introduced during a layout. So it's not just catching typographical errors, although they will catch anything that has remained in that process, but it's a lot of things like italics being dropped, or one word hanging out on a blank page that looks really weird, or stacks of words and things like that. And there's usually like 300 to 500 proofread changes in a normal length manuscript. That's a lot.
If you decide to skip the copy edit, the proofread is going to take longer and more things are going to be caught, and that's going to take longer. You're not really saving yourself a lot of time if you've skipped an editorial stage, those same issues just move down the path with your book.
Another mistake that we see a lot from authors is not realizing that your editorial team is on your side. It's understandable why the editorial process strikes fear into writers. I mean, you've put a lot of work and heart into something, and to have I think a lot of people's first experience with being edited is, a red pen happy teacher or a mom who does not get it. Or maybe you've been professionally edited and they had bad bedside manner with you. But I'm here to tell you that being edited professionally is a huge opportunity and you should take it.
This is a really great moment because you have been operating in isolation, and finally you have somebody who is really invested in the success of your manuscript and in the best of all possible worlds. This is sort of your editorial therapist, ally, and cheerleader all rolled into one.
And at the end of the day, it's your book and you can push back on your editors, and that's actually a really great thing, is when you start to unpack why it is that what your original text was saying didn't work and why it is that what the copy editor is suggesting also doesn't work, because you're going to get to the real clarity of what you're trying to get at. Designers, you may have a good eye. We all have an eye. You may have a good eye, but it's an amateur mistake to assume that you know design. There's a whole set of reasons why designers make the choices that they do, and it's a great resource that you have at your disposal when you're working with a publisher or an agency to do a self-published book. So of course we're going to make the book look exactly like you want it, but there are things that come across with typography and layout that you may not be aware of.
Right, there's a lot more that goes into it than making it look pretty. And I think that the publishers and designers come at approach the material sort of thinking about how it's going to look on the shelves and what readers expect from things that books that look a certain way. So there are expectations around that come with design, and if you should be asking questions and you should be engaged in the process, but realize that the designer probably has really good reasons for having made the choices they have. Don't wait until after you're done to begin building your audience. You might be tempted to think like, I'm going to write, I'm going to just focus on getting this done, and then I'm going to worry about who's going to read it later. But in this day and age, a lot of the marketing of the book is going to be on you, and it takes time to build that platform, and it takes time. Social media is a really fantastic resource that's available to people now, but it also doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, don't make the mistake of thinking that just because you may have a traditional publisher that your work is done. You are going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting to market your book on your own using social media primarily, because your publisher can't do it all for you.
There's so many different options out there, and our social media and marketing director is always saying, choose one, choose something you like. There's so many options. You can go Instagram if you're a visual person. You can go short and sweet if you're, on Twitter. So there are lots of options, and it's about choosing one that you feel really resonates with you. Readers' expectations are changing. I think they feel like they can go and learn a lot about you online, and they expect to have answers, and they want to hear back, and I think they expect to be able to connect with authors in a way that I don't think they ever felt they had access to them before.
Developing a community takes a lot of time, and it's a pretty organic process usually. So if you wait until your book is published, you have nowhere to seed that book. You can road test things. You can be like, what do you think of these covers? Let people into your process. Talk to people about their process. You don't have to have your book to be able to market your book.
And be a generous member of whatever community it is. And you also start to find out what your audience really wants.